Donald Trump is once again facing a very public embarrassment, losing out on the Nobel Peace Prize he desperately wanted but never earned. Yes, Trump has lost again, and this time, Venezuela plays a major role, not just because of who received the award, but because of why Trump didn't. And, as expected, he and the MAGA crowd are in full meltdown mode. We'll get into those furious reactions in just a moment, but first, if you enjoy our coverage, please take a second to like this video and subscribe. It really helps support our work. Now, before diving into Trump's outrage over missing out on the Nobel, let's talk about what actually triggered it. His failed strikes near Venezuela's coast and how the recipient of this year's prize has made Trump even angrier. To understand the full picture, here's how Senator Chris Murphy broke down Trump's proxy war in the region.
We took a really important vote in the Senate last night that largely went unnoticed, and I want to tell you about it. Trump's authoritarianism, which is growing in seriousness inside the United States, is now happening overseas as well. A lot of people haven't paid attention to this, but the president has essentially begun a war by taking down boats in the Caribbean with airstrikes that he claims are being operated by drug cartels. He has offered no evidence of who's in these boats. They might be members of drug cartels, but they could be civilians, they could be Americans. But B, and more importantly, the president has no authorization to just decide that he is going to use U.S. military power overseas without congressional authorization, without the consent of the public. Most of these strikes are in the Caribbean. They are off the coast of Venezuela. There's real risk that these strikes could draw the United States into a war with Venezuela, a war that nobody in this country wants. But again, the principle is probably what's most important. This is a president who just doesn't believe that he is subject to the law. He doesn't believe that the Constitution applies to him. You see that with the deployment of forces in Chicago and Portland. You see that in the way that he is using the powers of the White House to censor his critics. And now you see that in the way that he is carrying out military strikes overseas, reckless military strikes that could get the United States into an actual shooting war that is in direct violation of the Constitution. We took a vote last night to say explicitly that the president can't do this, that the president has to wind down this military activity without authorization of Congress. We lost the vote, but it was an important opportunity for us to raise for our colleagues the specter of a president who is not just acting lawlessly in the United States, but is now acting lawlessly all over the world.
What part of extrajudicial killings makes you the peace president? Is my question. Donald Trump has shown again and again that not only does he not care for the law, he has contempt for the law. He hates it. It's the reason why he has broken it so many times at home. And of course, the International Criminal Code, which is what Donald Trump is doing every time he is randomly striking boats off the coast of Venezuela because his immigration plan is going so poorly at home. Another illegal attack with political violence, by the way, that he has to commit political violence abroad to pretend that he's the big, strong, tough guy. And he is not. There is nothing tough. There is no peace through strength that comes from this. It is just Donald Trump trying to expand his authoritarian project and exercising what is this illegal action, and it is why those actually fighting for freedom in Venezuela have been bestowed the peace prize that Donald Trump so desperately wanted. Before we get into his post, I want to talk about the real winner, because this is important news. Nobel chair defends decision as he's grilled about Trump's campaign for Peace Prize. The chair of the Norwegian Nobel Committee pushed back against suggestions that this year's Nobel Peace Prize decision was made to spite Donald Trump's public campaign for the award. The chair was asked directly just moments after he announced this year's prize would go to Venezuela's opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado, whether Trump's repeated insistence that he deserves the prize had affected deliberations. A reporter in the room asked, "During the past months, U.S. President Donald Trump has repeatedly said he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize and he'd like to have it. He even said it would be an insult to the United States if he didn't get it." What do you, as chairman of the Nobel Peace Prize Committee, think of this? And how has this campaign-like activity by the president and his supporters domestically and internationally affected the deliberation and thinking in the committee? He replied, "In the long history of the Nobel Peace Prize, I think this committee has seen many types of campaign media attention. We receive thousands and thousands of letters every year of people wanting to say what for them leads to peace. The committee sits in a room filled with the portraits of all the laureates, and the room is filled with both courage and integrity. So we base our decision only on the work and the will of Alfred Nobel." The remarks came moments after Machado was awarded the 2025 Peace Prize, the chair calling her a brave and committed champion of peace who keeps the flame of democracy burning during a growing darkness. So you would think with, of course, such a reasonable response, such a dignified and deserving winner, Donald Trump, he couldn't possibly lose it on Truth Social. His White House wouldn't be freaking out and making insane comments. That is actually exactly what they did. We saw the freak out, we saw the attacks, we saw this is persecution. I'm the president of the United States, but I'm still the biggest victim in the world. That's what came out of Trump. That's what came out of Trump's White House. And we see it right here. Trump posted opinion. Yes, Trump deserves the Nobel Prize. And the White House's firebrand comms chief, Stephen Chung, led the backlash after the reveal, saying that the committee chose politics over peace. He wrote on X, "President Trump will continue making deals, ending wars, and saving lives. He has the heart of a humanitarian, and there will never be anyone like him who can move mountains with the sheer force of his will." The Nobel Committee proved they place politics over peace. Trump doesn't give a "can we make this clear?" Donald Trump a few weeks ago said that he is now fully grappling with the economic and military conditions on the ground in Ukraine, and why that has led him to believe that he needs to invest more in our ally so that they can win this war. Donald Trump doesn't understand geopolitics. Donald Trump doesn't know which wars he's ended, allegedly, because he's been kept out of all of these discussions. So don't get started with his will moves mountains. He himself is a mountain. He can barely move himself around with the cankles and the splotchy hands. It's why he's at the doctor today. Let's get real here. Donald Trump has not made any steps to make the world safer. Donald Trump has only taken steps to help Donald Trump in this administration. That is what it is always about. And Chris Murphy, who we heard from earlier, made that very clear right here.
Worry that the way our news cycles works, the way that our brains work politically these days, is that we only see 24 hours at a time. So we spend a day or two talking about the latest outrage, the latest attempt to destroy our democracy. And then we set that one aside and we talk about and work on the next one. And we don't see the cumulative impact of what it means to have the Department of Justice relentlessly pursuing legally the president's political opponents, what it means to have our media begin to look like state-run and state-owned media, what it looks like to have our troops being deployed all over the country to try to suppress dissent. What's going to happen here is not likely elections being canceled or a coup. What he's trying to do is to just suffocate the space that the opposition has to operate, such that there's never enough oxygen for Democrats or any political opposition party to beat him. That's, what happened in Hungary. The political opposition party still exists there. The rules are just rigged so that they can never, ever prosecute their case. They can never win a national election. So when you look at everything he's doing together at the DOJ, at the FCC, at the Department of Defense, it is all designed to try to convince people to just stay quiet, to not show up for the protests, to not run for office, to not vote. That's how our democracy is destroyed. The elections still happen, but the same party wins election after election after election, and that party is Donald Trump's party, his family's party, a party increasingly of oligarchs who are making money off of this government.
Senator, I want to underscore that what you have done today in terms of laying out the connecting the dots, you are really shining a light on the roadmap that Donald Trump is laying out here. And I think that's important because I was just at an event earlier today here in Washington, D.C. I was in Denver this past weekend, and the folks that are, plugged in to what we do every single day, they are very concerned. But by and large, many folks, they don't feel like it's necessarily a 5-alarm fire, or they're like, when we get on the other side of this, not understanding that it's going to take work to get on the other side of this. Retribution is not a side note here for the Trump administration. It is the centerpiece. And the Insurrection Act that he's talking about is not just a suggestion. He is openly telling us that he is going to do it. And without any pushback, it is going to happen. And let's just be clear. National Guard troops are on their way to Chicago as we speak. The governor did not ask for them to be there. National Guard troops are attempting to be deployed in Oregon. The governor did not ask for them to be there. National Guard troops were deployed in California. The governor did not ask for them to be there. Have we slipped already into the authoritarianism? Is there a way out? I mean, give us your unvarnished thoughts here.
Well, listen, we are not on the verge of an authoritarian takeover. We're in the middle of it. Now, it's not too late. We haven't lost our democracy. But, we sometimes like to think of the first term Donald Trump, the bumbling White House that didn't seem to have any theory of the case from day to day. This is a very different White House, right? Stephen Miller and his gang, they have a plan. They have a plan that they are executing to transition our country from democracy to something fundamentally different, maybe even autocracy. And that's what I tried to lay out on the floor today, is how this plan is being operationalized every single day.
Donald Trump's entire agenda has always been about expanding his authoritarian grip on power. Nothing more, nothing less. Let's be honest about it. He doesn't care about peace, affordability, or public safety. It's never been about helping people. It's always been about the grift, and that grift needs to be exposed. And let's not forget, this is the same man who spent weeks talking about political violence after the Charlie Kirk incident, conveniently ignoring the violence his own movement has fueled. From tearing families apart to attacking peaceful protesters, including priests and demonstrators, Trump's record is soaked in aggression, not peace. It's no wonder the Nobel Committee looked at that and said, absolutely not. We'll keep exposing this hypocrisy right here on this channel. So if you want to support that, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.